Cheers, I do, buckaroos. How the heck are? Well, I'm in my kitchen, so I like to move around during the holidays. And sometimes I'm in front of a fake fireplace. Sometimes I'm in front of my real fireplace. Sometimes I'm in the pub, which is actually my garage. But hey, I decided I'd do one here in the kitchen. Just got my Christmas glasses out. And I wanted to show you this here. Actually, I'm wearing the attire was a Christmas present, by the way. Anyway, I digress. A few weeks ago, Macadoodles, a liquor store, gas station chain, I guess, asked asked for people that would want to be part of a bottle tasting for J. Rieger, Kansas City whiskey. They had a special one come out. It's our Kansas City whiskey, finished in Laird's Applejack cask. So I thought, well, that was interesting. So what they did is that we had 4 different proofs to choose from, and I got to be honest, my particular favorite was the cask, but we all had a consensus on the 100 proof, which is what they ended up with. The only thing I thought about, the 100 proof was certainly more affordable than the cask strength was going to be. So the 100 proof is fine. It was really everybody's pick. But the reason I would have went with the cask strength was because, well, it is Christmas time. So if you're looking for something special, that would have been crazy special. However, I remember at the time tasting this, it was pretty darn special at 100 proof. I think we had we tasted the regular Riegers at 90. I think they had the Applejack at 90, 100, 110 maybe, and then the cask strength, who can remember now, was over a month ago. It's about 6 weeks ago now. But anyway, we went with the 100 proof. So I'm going to set that bottle down. What I did is I poured myself a shot and a half, a nice jigger pour, nice full jigger pour in my Christmas glass here. Live trees for you to a good home. Yeah, my Ziggy glass. Doesn't get out very often, but if you see some old videos, I've got this in a few old videos. And I took extensive notes, man. I think I drove the folks there crazy that were tasting with me because they weren't really writing down anything. And I was taking just extensive notes. So when it came time to talk about the whiskeys, I had my notes, man. Oh, mercy. But anyway, I don't know what happened to them. Long story short, I thought I had them where I knew where they were, but they weren't there. So I remember one of the reasons why all of us as a group liked the 100 proof, because other than the cask, it was the one that you really felt that the Applejack, the apple, the most. But it almost has that apple pie feel, right? Because you get a lot of cinnamon. There's a lot of cinnamon from the barrel, a lot of barrel spice, I refer to it as. And when it mixes with those vanilla notes that you get, and now you're adding the apple on top of that, it really has that apple pie kind of feel to it. I haven't even taken a drink yet. Oh my gosh, it's absolutely gorgeous. Now, when we were there at the tasting, they gave us a little bit of all of them, and then they gave us some water. And then we went through and tasted them all, and then went back through and put water in to see what differences. And in almost every case, except the lowest proof, to be honest with you, but in every case but that one, the water did help it. Well, let me take that back. It didn't necessarily help it, but it really brought out, livened up, if you will, some of those aromas. And if you've ever been to formal tastings, they will do that. They will usually give you water on the side. They'll have you taste it, then add a little water, and it really tends to open up the nose. So I'm going to do that here too, but I wanted to anyway go over the nose and then the taste without any. Then we're going to add just a little bit of water. I mentioned the apple. I mentioned vanilla, the cinnamon, but there's other things going on here as well on the nose. You get this very dry toasted oak aroma on the nose as well. And you might find other spice. I personally feel like I'm picking up, some nutmeg and clove as well, but I'm really sensitive to spice, so that could be just me, but that's what I'm feeling. Oh, gosh almighty. One of the things I remember that I really loved about it at the time, and of course they give you about, just a little bit for these tastings like this, was the texture. So before I go into any of those flavors, when I just took that drink. That's what I noticed what I noticed the most. I just remember loving the texture, the mouthfeel of this whiskey. It's very velvety smooth. Oh, now let's talk about some taste. Let me take another drink. Oh gosh, that's just gorgeous. It's very easy to drink at 100 proof, but I got to be 100% honest with you. I remember it being very easy to drink at cask strength. I mean, there was nothing. It was beautiful at cask. But for some reason, you really felt the apple more on this 100 proof than the. I think it was. I can't remember if it was a 110 or 120, but I think it was a 110. But we really felt the apple more here, and again on the nose, and here on the flavor too. I'm gonna take another drink here. That's just freaking beautiful. Yeah, you really feel those apple notes, and again combined with the amount of vanilla going on, the cinnamon, the other spice notes that you may pick up that I mentioned on the nose. You may feel some nutmeg, clove. You might feel some allspice in the flavor as well if you're really attuned to spice. It really has that apple pie kind of feel to it. And again, you may get some other notes in there. It's certainly not going to be unusual if you pick out some dark fruits in there, or some candy fruits. I almost feel like I'm getting a very dark candied cherry as well in here. I'm going to set that down. I'm going to open up a bottle of water. I'm going to pour just a tiny bit in there, not a lot. I'm not going to mix this 50-50, folks. So a lot of folks cringe when you put water in whiskey. But I know a lot of master distillers will tell you to do this. So what I have here, as you can see, is just a cap full of water. It's not a lot of water. We're going to drop it in there and see what changed. Now, I do remember when we were doing the tasting, some of the folks, there were 3 of us picked, but then I guess they had 2 others from something else anyway. There ended up being 5 of us, plus the person holding the tasting, and then a representative from Macadoodles there. But some of them were adding a lot of water. I mean, they were really mixing it. I was just putting a dab in there. And that's what I remember is when you put that water in there, it really opens up even more on the nose. And I wasn't getting this before, but now that I'm checking the nose, I really feel like I'm getting a lot of maple. Now, I don't know why water would open that up, to be honest with you, but I really wasn't feeling it before. Now I'll be darned if I don't feel maple on the nose. I have to admit, though, my nose is a little challenged at the moment. I do have a sinus thing going on, but hey, man, I always have a sinus thing going on. But the other aromas that were there are brighter, too. I really feel those spice notes become more amplified as well. Luckily, anyway, for me, anyway, it doesn't hurt the texture any. It's still, because that was concerning me. Is I'm all for bringing out the flavors and aroma, but don't mess with that mouthfeel. It does seem to make the whiskey sweeter, though. Even I mentioned maple on the nose that I didn't feel without the water, and the flavors. I do feel more sugar. Like a dark brown, very dark brown, molasses brown sugar feel going on, and again with those apple notes that are even more intense. uh, the vanilla, the various spice, and now adding that brown sugar really gives you that that apple pie kind of feel to it. It's a comfort whiskey. There you go. That's it. I got it. That's your tagline, Riegers. It's a comfort whiskey. Anyway, that's what I'm going with, man. I like J. Rieger's products. I like about everything they do. Their regular private stock or their regular whiskey is pretty incredible before it gets into those Applejack barrels. But I do want to tell you a little bit about it here. I'm going to read from the bottle. Well, actually, it doesn't tell me what I wanted to tell you. Anyway, I won't read from the bottle because you don't care. J. Rieger's is a blend of bourbon rye, and they use a little bit of Oloroso sherry, which is why it's not a true bourbon, which is why they call it a Kansas City whiskey. I actually have a bottle of their bourbon, though, the cask strength bourbon, which is incredible. Every product I've ever bought from this company is incredible. But when I read that they were finishing it in Laird's Applejack cask, I really hope to be a part of that barrel tasting, and I felt honored to be picked by the folks at Macadoodles. It wasn't because I had talent or anything. They asked for the first three, and I was one of the first three. Anyway, but truthfully, I did feel honored to be a part of that. It was absolutely incredible. So there you go. Sophisticated whiskey drinkers hate when you use this term, but I'm going to use it anyway. It is smooth. And when I say smooth, I'm not saying that in a simplistic term. I'm saying it because, well, it's smooth. It means it's just easy to drink. Everything about this whiskey is just, well, I mean, I joke comfort whiskey, but yeah, everything about this whiskey is comforting, from the aromas to the flavors to the texture. The finish let me take another drink and describe more of the finish. The pleasantly lingering spice, that vanilla, that toasty oak that just stays with you just long enough and then goes away. It's absolutely beautiful, but I am a fan of everything J. Rieger's does. So there you go. Heck, I even like their gin, and I don't even like gin. Man, one thing I remember about their gin was it was one of the spicier gins that I've ever had, and I really enjoyed that about it. But anyway, I am Tom the Whiskey Whisperer, Whiskey Evangelist. Lost where I was going, man. One more time, take two. I'm Tom the Whiskey Whisperer, Whiskey Evangelist, prolific whiskey drinker, purveyor wisdom, and man, and that finish, you really feel that apple. It's very nice, a little sweet, slightly tart. Oh my goodness. All around good guy. Ho, 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 Merry Christmas.